if you are wasting your microcosmic essence, what effect is that going to have on the macrocosm? So I got into an argument with one of my Patreons the other day, or I wouldn't say an argument, a disagreement, right? An intellectual disagreement. He was asking me about what are the most profound esoteric and occult techniques are and methods to leapfrog the rest of the normies, the NPCs. I understand why you would ask a question like that, but the principle that gets you that outcome is actually called the boring fundamentals. So I have a map here that I want to show you today. That is what I would call the 4-king combo. And if you get this correct, then I believe leapfrogging the competition, yeah, that will happen very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. So where should we begin here? I think we'll begin with the principle here. So mastery is about consistency and faith in the boring fundamentals. So it's about doing the things that have a history of getting people results consistently. And there is nothing fancy about it. That is why they are called boring fundamentals. So before we begin, I just want to give a little nod to my Patreons who have subscribed and who are gleaning the benefits of 159 books that I believe will add significant value to your life, organized by subject matter. They're really, really enjoying it. People are asking me for book references all the time. It's all there in all its glory for at least first tier Patreons. And these are the boring fundamental books. I've had to throw a lot of these away. So back to the topic of today. Mastery is about consistency and faith in the boring fundamentals. So this was in reference to a post here. And this individual outlines what they believe is perfection, okay? So brothers, of course, perfection is a big term, and I will never say that I am or will be perfect. In fact, I am well aware of my flaws, and that's why we're all here. I love the compassionate and empathic start, my friend. I found out something about myself, and this combination is great for self-improvement, at least for me. This individual is going to try and keep it short for us. So, of course, SR, and this in and of itself is esoteric, is the occult, is the profound. You only need to bring it up in a social context and people will look at you with very, very interesting looks. So while holding onto your sacred energy, you refeed your body with essential nutrients. Sexual energy is life-creating, powerful, and by harnessing its essence, you will ascend in physical and mental ways. Excellent. Number 2, fasting. Hunter-gatherer mode. You feel sharp. You utilize your instincts and brain more effective in order to sustain your life. Like a Neanderthal, we hunt the mammoth. You know what I'm saying? Autophagy and health/guts improvement is very well documented, and by practicing, you can use its potential to the fullest. Number 3, working out. I used to work out, or I like to work out fasted and retain for obvious reasons. It's connected to this hunter-gatherer, more primal instinctual pattern in the brain. Trying to go for the mammoth, getting exhausted, and then muscles pumped made me get a Greek god physique. Confidence and knowledge about your own body and organism is beautiful, and it does inspire others to change. Healthier diet as well. Okay, so I'm not going to go into this too extensively because there's some nuance that is missing from this in my personal opinion. So the reason the boring fundamentals exist is in contrast to shiny object syndrome. Most people want to find this new, profound, unknown, less known method, process, system that will allow them to leapfrog the competition. In my experience, all of them lose out because they veto these and they go all in on these. The classic one is, I'm going to start doing SR and sexual alchemy and only do SR and sexual alchemy. I'm going to spend all my mental capacity making sure that I'm not going back to the illicit videos online and that I am counting day after day after day after day after day. It is coming from a perspective who is waiting to fall back, who is counting the days and not making the days count. That is the most important principle. So let's talk about the benefits of doing this practice first and foremost. Or I should say, actually, not just doing this practice, but let's say before you're using alchemy to get these benefits. So number 1, saving time in the absence of an addiction to illicit materials. I don't think gets spoken about enough is, you're not spending all that mental energy indulging your fantasies, trying to find the correct video, and ultimately just wasting one of the most precious assets we have, which is time. Number 2 is a healthier dopaminergic system. Your dopamine symptoms come back to baseline. You start to feel novel pleasure in work. Imagine that. You actually feel pleasure working. When you feel pleasure working, work is easy. And this corresponds to the increase in testosterone level. When you have high testosterone, you reap more pleasure in relation to competition. So climbing the hierarchy at work. Number 3, less negative emotion. A lower negative emotion like shame and apathy. And 4, a heightened self-opinion. If you have these things, people underestimate how profoundly that can change your life if you just hold yourself with a higher opinion. Your chest is projected, your chin is projected, and you're walking and talking like somebody who is wealthier, more attractive, and fundamentally like somebody people want to be around. When you're in shame and apathy, you don't even want to be around yourself. If you don't even want to be around yourself, what effect is that going to have on other people? They're going to be sensitive towards it. Now, of course, this isn't even talking about the benefits of retained sexual energy, which I go into extensively into some of my other videos, so please look at those. But I just wanted to share the sacred geometry with you, which you can see as a spermatozoa on the left-hand side and the egg, and the human central nervous system. The likeness is uncanny. And the point I make is, it's the microcosm to the macrocosm. They are a reflection of one another. If you are wasting your microcosmic essence, what effect is that going to have on the macrocosm, the human body? Think of the word reproduction. Reproduce, to replicate, right? To replicate what you already have. It is taking assets from the CNS to create another. If you're constantly taxing yourself in this regard, then you are taxing your CNS. One of the long lectures I go into on my Patreon regards a topic on neurasthenia, which is a weakness of the nervous system, which is apparent in individuals who do not have self-mastery over this. That's why you see things like cognitive decline, early onset of mental disorders, dementia, amnesia, Alzheimer's. All of these things happen because of the weakness of the gray matter, of the nervous system. So long-term health, yeah, you want to be thinking about that. Of course, fasting, something near and dear to my heart. I fast every single day. I only eat between the hours of 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Benefits: heightened cognitive performance, reduced intake of poor nutrition. That is an interesting one that not a lot of people perhaps think about. When you haven't been without food for a long period of time, you become more sensitive to the poor nutrition you're not intaking. And then you think about, okay, if I'm finally going to eat, I want to make sure I'm eating something good and not something that's, rubbish, that's processed. Less body fat and less facial fat. You even see your face thinning out. You see the cheekbones come in, the jawline starts to come in when you're fasting. Unlikely to overeat because you're eating in a smaller window. And more time. I'm not spending time cooking so much. In fact, I eat quite a lot of raw food as well, a lot of raw meats and raw offal, and has a remarkable effect on your energy and the absorption of the nutrients. Exercise, I'm not going to go into too much. I'm sure you know the benefits of exercise. I've just made a reference to catharsis, which is a build-up and release of nervous tension. I always like to say the calm after a workout, like a heavy workout in the morning, is one of the most beautiful experiences I have every single day. So hard workouts at the beginning of the day in a fasted state tame the mind. If anxiety, if you're jittery, if you can't sit down and work, it's because you've got too much nervous tension. You need to beat it out of your muscles and your nervous system. A really good way is through strength training. A 5x5 is a great one with good compound lifts, deadlifts, bench, rows, pull-ups. These things are going to be very, very beneficial. Not just a consequence of the physiological effects, but in my opinion, the mental effects. Nutrition is always going to be contentious depending on what has worked for you. And I encourage you to lean on what works for you. I know what works for me. I've tried the veganism. I've tried the vegetarian. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't give me the results I want. What does work for me is high protein, high fat, low carb, high fruit, and offal. Okay, so if I open my fridge right now, you'll find liver, you'll find heart, you'll find a lot of steak, you'll find some T-bones in there, you'll find ribeyes, you'll find fillets, you'll find rump, you'll find chicken, you'll find salmon, you'll find eggs, you'll find fruit, You'll find apples, you'll find berries, you'll find a lot of things. I'll tell you what you won't find. You won't find bread, you won't find rice, you won't find pasta, you won't find potatoes. Personally, I've done the experimentation. I go back and forth. I'm thinking in the winter to introduce a little bit more carbohydrates, starting with potatoes potentially. But most of my carbohydrates I get from fruit. I get from apples. I will sometimes have some vegetables like some carrots, some broccoli, some cruciferous vegetables, but very, very minimal. It's more high fat items, typically, high percentage beef, like mince, like 20% and above. And this is what I would call nutrition. What I would not call nutrition is anything processed, any refined sugar, and seed oils as well. So this is a really good point. Seed oils are highly inflammatory. Whatever your nutrition is, I highly encourage you to only use olive oil, butter, lard. There's maybe an argument for coconut oil, but that is, and tallow. You can use ghee. I use ghee sometimes as well. But other than that, no. Big no. Big no, big no. These things are highly inflammatory. They'll cause free radicals to appear in your body, and they're the starts of inflammation and cancer later on. So gentlemen, let me know how you found today's video. If you like these new mind maps, I'm starting to integrate them a little bit more into my presentation, into my coaching, into all facets of my work. And just remember, it's consistent faith to these boring fundamentals. Are you fasting every day? Are you eating good every day? Are you moving every day? And are you not indulging in pleasure every day and transmuting that energy through creative capacities, including breath work? Breath work videos are going to be up on my Patreon very, very soon, if not already, actually, after this video. These are not theories. These are facts. Speak soon.